Hello, welcome to Jason O Millennial. I'm here at the movie theater. Just got out and saw Minecraft, a Minecraft movie. And if you hear the noise, that's the fountain in front of me. Pretty nice day outside, a little cloudy, but yeah, what an awful movie. God, that was so stupid. Really, just some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard. Cringy, my brain hurts from listening to it. Yeah, the whole time I was like, wow, this is just really stupid. The visuals were kind of cool, like the set designs were really well made. I think there's some stuff there, but the overall humor was not good. I saw the director was Jared Hess, and I was like, Jared Hess, who is that? That's not the Napoleon Dynamite director, is it? And Nacho Libre? If it is, I'm like, this is not going to be good. I also saw there's 5 screenplay directors, or screenplay writers, and I was like, oh no, there's 5 screenwriters. That's not good. And as I'm watching, I'm like, it just got worse and worse, and really bad ending. Just, I don't know, it was just awful. The worst movie I've seen so far this year, but we'll get more to it when I get back home. All right, so I got back from watching a Minecraft movie, kind of the big movie coming out this week. As you saw in my intro, I thought this was a really terrible movie. It is so stupid. And I had this moment when I'm watching the movie, and it's the opening credits, and I see the name directed by Jared Hess. And I was like, Jared Hess, I think I know who that is. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, that's the Napoleon Dynamite director, isn't it? And the Nacho Libre director. 2 movies I think are just absolutely horrible. And I looked it up on Google when I got home, and yeah, it's Jared Hess is that guy. The guy who wrote, or who made those 2 movies, I think are just absolutely horrible comedies. Just horribly written comedies, horribly acted comedies. Yeah, anyway, so I knew when I watched it and I saw that, I was like, oh no, this is a bad sign. And then I saw a screenplay, and I swear there was like 5 names under screenplay. And I was like, oh my gosh, it took 5 people to write this bad movie? That's a bad sign. Anytime you see multiple screenwriters like that, it's like, oh man, they must have had to keep rewriting the story. Because, again, for me, Minecraft is a video game I've never played before. Really don't know a lot about it, except that there's a lot of blocks that you build houses and buildings out of or something. And there's some creepy creatures that come out at night, the skeleton creatures. That's about all I know. Anyway, so like I have no connection to this video game. And as far as I know, there's no story to the video game. So it's a weird video game to try to adapt into a movie. It doesn't really work on paper. It doesn't work in reality. It just doesn't. It's really hard to make this into an interesting movie. And they tried their best, but I think they got the worst director. I think Jared Hess is probably the worst director ever direct any movies. And it's like they gave him a big budget to direct this. It was a big mistake. And a lot of it's a bad script, and it is horrible dialogue. It's some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard. There's so much bad dialogue. Like at the beginning of the movie, kind of you get established all these characters, and of course Jack Black plays Steve, gets transported into the overworld. And then you have these other 4 characters that later on also go into the overworld, as you see in the trailer. One of them is Henry, this boy, and his sister are 2 of the main characters. And they move to this town, and he goes to school for the first time. And the principal is Jennifer Coolidge, which I was like, oh my God, Jennifer Coolidge. I think she's kind of over the top, not funny actress. And she's very bad in this movie, very not funny, and tries to be, everybody tries to be funny, and they're just not. It's like they try too hard to try to be funny, and it just doesn't come naturally. It doesn't work. But one of the first scenes, like he's at the principal's office, and she starts talking about, she says, oh, you probably heard that I got divorced recently, which I'm like, why would this new kid know that you got divorced recently? What a weird thing to say for the first time to this kid. And why would you tell him about your divorce? It makes no sense. It's so stupid. Nobody does that in real life. Nobody talks about, to a kid about, it's just awful. Anyways, and she goes on about like, and here, this is some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard, but it's like, our marriage fell apart 20 years ago, but we kept together for the dogs. That is the line. It's such a bad line. I was like, what is going on? And then he goes to his first teacher, and the first teacher is like, I'm the arts teacher and the PE teacher. And then he starts going into all his financial troubles. Like, I have all these financial troubles, and I'm just really struggling. I'm like going through hell right now. And this is like the beginning of the class, and I'm like, why is this teacher talking about his personal life? Again, people don't do that in real life. It's written in this movie because they're bad writers. It's stupid dialogue. It's just a stupid. And as soon as those two scenes happen, I'm like, oh no, this is bad. This is gonna be really bad dialogue. This is Jared Hess. This is gonna be another bad movie like Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre. And it was. It was like on that level. I actually think it's better than those two movies, but it's just got Jared Hess written all over it. Anyways, but yeah, so you got the Jack, again, it's a terrible story. But you got Jack Black, who's Steve. When he's a kid, he wants to go to the mines. But we never get explained, why does he want to go to the mines as a kid? Why does he want to be a miner? That doesn't make any sense as a kid. That's his dream, is going to the mines and mining. What is in there for a kid to go mine that he would enjoy? What is his motivation? It never explained. It makes no sense. And then he gets older and he gets a dead-end job. And this is like in the first 10 minutes of the movie. They go through all the exposition. And he's like, oh, he hates his job. And then he's like, oh, remember 40 years, 30 some years ago, when I was a kid, I wanted to go in the mines and I couldn't because they wouldn't let me. I'm going to go back and go into the mines like I did when I was a kid. But still, it's like, why do you want to go to the mines? What is in those mines that makes you want to go in there? It's never explained. It makes no sense. There's no motivation for the character. And so he goes in the mines and he just happens to chip at this rock and he finds a magic cube. It's like, what are the chances? I don't know how long he was in that mine, but it felt like he just walked in the mine. And this mine's been mined for decades. Lots of miners probably going through there, and nobody found this magic cube. And this guy who's never mined a day in his life goes in there and finds it on his first. It's just so coincidence, just so the movie can happen. And it's just bad writing. And he finds this other thing, anyways, and he finds a portal, and he goes in it, and he's in the overworld, and he can make things magically, and he loves it there. And I feel like there should have been more backstory on Steve, like maybe he was bullied as a kid, maybe he doesn't have any family or friends, maybe he doesn't feel like he fits in the world, and then he hears like there's a magical box in this mine, and there should have been some story of why he wants to go in the mine and find this box. And he wants to find this alternative world because he doesn't like the real world. And then when he finds the overworld, he loves it there because there's nobody there to bully him or criticize him. And he's very creative. Like one of the main plot points is like he's very creative. Like Henry's very creative, the boy in the movie, and they don't fit in, they get criticized and bullied. And you're in the overworld and you're just like, you let your creativity go wild and you love it. And so you love the overworld more than the earth. Or the real world. Anyways, that's kind of the story, but they don't really explain that. And I'm like, I wish there was more backstory on Steve, and that, it would have made sense, like, for his character arc to be like, oh, I don't like the real world because of the people, but I love the overworld, because I'm creative and all that. There could have been an arc for that character, because then at the end, I don't want to spoil too much, but, he has a choice of either staying in the overworld or go back to the real world, And there could have been a cool character arc where he found friends with these 4 people, which is kind of stupid because they just they barely know each other, and they're like, we're best friends, we got to save each other. And it's like, no, you're not. You just met each other. You're not friends. So even the boys, like, it says to Jason Momoa's character, like, I was your friend. I'm like, you barely know that you met him like 5 minutes ago and he's your friend. That you're like, sad that he's a jerk. It's just really bad writing. Doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Anyway, but there could have been a character arc where he like finds friends, and then maybe he wants to go to the real world because he has friends, and maybe, there could have been some character arc, but there really wasn't. It was just, things happen for no reason, just for the plot to happen or for, different things to happen anyways. Yeah, Jason Momoa is in here, and I remember seeing the trailer for the first time, and yeah, the trailer looked terrible, that first trailer, and I was like, and a lot of that was because of Jason Momoa, because Jason Momoa has been so terrible in movies lately. His performance in Fast and Furious 10, I think it was, he was the bad guy, and he had one of the worst performances of all time. And it's because he tries to be funny. He cannot be funny. Anytime he tries to be comical, it is a terrible performance. He is much better when he's just a serious, buffed up, scary guy. Like he can do, action very well because he's a big, strong guy. And a little humor is okay, but lately I've just seen him in so many films that he tries to be humorous, and he is really bad at it. He's just one of the worst actors in my opinion. I don't like him in any of these movies. And everything is just so overdone. I mean, his character is just over the top. Jack Black is so over the top. Like, I feel like when they gave Jack Black a script, they just wrote on the script, do your Jack Black thing. Be Jack Black. Do the most Jack Blackish thing you can think of. Every line is not said normally. Every line he throws some, emphasis on it. It makes no sense. He yells out a line. He sings a song for no reason out of nowhere because it's Jack Black. Nobody else would do that, but because it's Jack Black, he's like, hey, I'm gonna make up a song and sing it like I do in every movie, which that works sometimes. It's fun, But here it's like I don't know why he's singing all of a sudden. But he does stuff like, I was just talking to my friend Nick actually, and because he's seen I guess the trailer, and there's a part in the trailer and it just explains the whole character where they're like, who are you? And he says, I am Steve. It's like it's just a weird way of saying it, and he said it so dramatically and put so much emphasis on Steve. It's like, okay, you just can't say anything normally. In fact, I remember one part, I kind of remember this because you said something about, or even like in the trailer, he says, I yearned for the mines. And you're like, what? And but there's one part he says, yes, there are many treasures, out there. But he didn't say treasures. He says like treasures. He mispronounces treasures for no reason except he didn't want to say a normal line reading. So he tried to make any excuse to say it weirdly, he felt like every line, either him or the director felt like every line he says has to be done weird or strange or not normal. And that's how it's going to make the movie better is people are going to be, oh, I love this character because he doesn't say anything normal. And that was his whole character, kind of like just trying to say things unnormal and do just the most Jack Blackish things of, his humor, which is fine at times. But here it's like, man, he just turned it to 11. It's just, everybody was on 11. It's like, okay, and again, Jared Hess likes to be weird and quirky. And the only directors I feel like that it works with maybe is Wes Anderson or Taika Waititi can do kind of quirky, funny, and be good at it. Jared Hess cannot. Being quirky and funny is hard to do. If you don't do it right, it's just cringe. And that's what this movie was. It was just very cringe dialogue and cringe humor where I was like, oh my God, this is every line. I'm like, oh my God, that's a terrible line. It's a terrible line reading. Yeah. And again, it's like, once you know the plot, it seems very predictable, like what's going to happen. The one thing I'll say I liked is I liked the set designs. I like that they go to different places. There's some world building in this overworld, and they're going around, and you're seeing these different areas in the the villagers market or whatever, and then you go to this mansion. You go through a mountain or something, and so there's some. I like that part of the movie. I kind of like them traveling to different areas and you kind of discovering new areas in the overworld. That was kind of cool. It's like, oh, okay, this is a new area we haven't explored yet, So there's an exploration kind of idea and new things in there that I enjoyed. Again, set designs were really well done. Animation, it's like, just a lot of CGI for sure. It's not terrible CGI, but man, it's overblown with CGI characters for sure. I'm sure they're acting against nothing most of the time anyways. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what other things I can say. There's this whole side story with Jennifer Coolidge where one of the villagers who doesn't look like a human being, they have big blocky heads and big blocky noses, and it wanders into the real world through this portal, and then Jennifer Coolidge runs it over with her car. And you're like, what's the point of all this? It has nothing to do with the story or anything. But it's only to have this, like, try to be this funny, like, side story where she's like, oh, I hit you with my car, please don't sue me. Everybody sues me. Like, she's been hit a lot of people with her car. And she keeps saying Jeep Cherokee like it's a product placement. It's weird. And Jennifer Coolidge just, again, she's just turning it to 11 and too much Jennifer Coolidge. And this thing can't talk really or anything, and it looks weird, yet she's not freaked out about it. Like, no one's freaked out about the things they should be freaked out about. Everything they should be freaked out about. I would be freaked out. I'd be like, I'm getting the hell out of here. It's like some alien creature. But she's like, I'm going to take you out to dinner. And they're on a date. And I'm like, don't tell me she's gonna fall in love with this creature and they're gonna have this side love story. It's so stupid. And it's exactly what they did. In fact, there's one moment where they're at the dinner and she's like, I want to ask you over to my house for dessert. And this villager creature is like, ooh, starts moving his eyebrows like, ooh, like we're gonna have sex. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't tell me they're gonna go have sex. Like, I don't need this in this movie. This is so stupid. And I just knew it was going there, and I was like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. Like, it is one of the worst side stories I've ever seen. And even at the very end, in the mid-credit scenes, it's one of the worst mid-credit scenes I've ever seen in my life, dealing with those two characters. And Jennifer Coolidge is so terrible. She's so not funny and annoying. And there's a lot of that throughout this movie. I don't know much more to say except that this is a 1-star movie. I give it 1 star because of the visual effects were interesting enough. And there's maybe a couple funny moments in the whole movie, but for most part, it was just a terrible, cringy, humorous movie with just terrible dialogue and terrible performances. Anyway, so I cannot. This is the worst movie I've seen so far this year. I can't not recommend this enough. If you don't have to, don't go see this movie, a Minecraft movie. Besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate y'all. I hope you have